you? I hope you're doing well and that you're having an awesome day. I wanted to show you kind of a quick go-to super fun green look for St. Patty's Day if you're wanting to go through with your Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette and just have a lot of fun with it. I've found a variation on a green look that I've really appreciated the last couple of days, and I've tried to film this video several times so that I could walk through and like do dupes and, you know, the typical way that I film get ready with me's, and it's not working because I'm having to get too close to the mirror, and we're gonna talk through this together. So like I said, super easy way to go through with your Subculture palette. And then if you want to supplement some other shades, I've gone through with things out of my Lorac Pro 2 palette, and then also some just random shadows, but really you could make this look out of the entire Subculture palette. So really, kind of the star of the show of this look is going to be this beautiful duochrome kind of gold green over here called Electric. I have used two different shadow bases to make it look completely different. I wear it on my lid and in my inner corner, and I really have been loving that way. So I hope that it'll inspire you to go through and try some different things. So let's do this. Let's get to it. To start off, I'm going to go on and kind of dust around where my nose was. I don't know if this is going to change the lighting too much, but I kind of want to have my LED mirror on over here because it makes it a little bit easier for me to see, but I'll get up close so that way you can kind of see what's going on in my eyes. So let me zoom in a little bit. All right, in terms of what I'm gonna do to start off with my eye, this is a very bold step, and I have to work really fast because it creases horribly. As you can tell, I've got hooded eyes. So what I'm going to do before we start this look, I've already gone through and primed my eyes. I used a little bit of the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. I've noticed that works the best for me with the Anastasia formula, but go through with your favorite eyeshadow base. You are good to go. So the base that I'm going to use on my lid is the NYX Jumbo Eyeshadow Pencil in the shade Black Bean. I know, right? It's a little crazy, but the effect that this has with Electric is just stunning. So you can go through with a black eyeliner if you have a potted gel liner in a really deep, intense black shade. All of those are going to be fantastic bases. This happens to be what I have on hand, and I do kind of want to just play with it and get comfortable with it because I do find it rather fascinating that this one runs on me, whereas the NYX Milk doesn't go crazy on me. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I get a little bit in the hood of my eye, like in this crease area, don't worry, it does blend out, but still, like, since my eyes are so hooded, it is kind of one of the struggle bus issues. So what I'm going to do, hopefully you can see this, is I'm just very quickly swiping this across my lid. It doesn't have to be perfectly blended. Just kind of go through, and then you can touch it up with your finger in just a minute, because like I said, you got to work pretty quickly with this product. Otherwise, I know for me, it is all over the place, but it's worth it. So there's one eye. I'm gonna go through and do my other eye. And typically, you know, a lot of times, I've seen people go through and do their transition area first. I found when I work with glitters and things, it actually works better for me to start and kind of work my way up, if that makes sense, because otherwise I'm constantly having to go backtrack and, you know, touch up areas that, you know, my lid shade is transferred, or, you know, the crease shade's not quite as blended as I want. So I work from my lash line up, and then I'll kind of go back and just warm things up just to kind of explain what I'm doing. And that's also a really easy tip if you have hooded eyes, just so that you're not constantly having to retrace your steps in terms of your eyeshadow look. So hopefully this isn't going to travel too terribly bad. It's so awkward just like sitting here talking on camera, doesn't it? It's kind of weird. Okay. The next thing that I'm going to do, I have found the easiest way for me to incorporate a lot of the more metallic shades out of Anastasia is to use sponge tip applicators. This happens to be the brand Beauty 360, which is available at CVS. I'm actually misspoke about that in my recent makeup bag recap, but Ulta has sponge tip applicators. You can find them at Walmart. You can find them at various drugstores, but these are really, really phenomenal because I have found that I have the best color payoff when it comes to shades like Cube from the Subculture palette, Electric, and then also this Adorn shade up here. It just works that much better. So what I'm doing is I'm taking just a basic sponge tip applicator and I'm going through with the shade Electric over here. And then I'm gonna swipe this directly across that black shadow base, and you will see we are gonna get a really cool shamrock green. You see that? It is so, so pretty because normally when you swatch it on your finger, it's actually kind of a gold color. It doesn't really come off with quite as much green, and I really wanted to intensify that. So I'm just taking it in little sweeping motions to really get that color onto the lid because I don't want just chunky glitter. I want you to see the actual pigmentation of that green. It's so, so pretty. I actually appreciate this color a whole lot more after playing with it on top of a black base than I do on its own. Because on its own, it's pretty, but I've really found with these topper shades, they work super, super well as lid shades when you have kind of a tacky base. So there's one eye. Let's go back through and do our other eye. Now we have a little bit of black that can go up into the crease, so that's okay. We'll go in and fix that in just a moment. Struggle bus problems for hooded eyes, for sure. I just love how this comes together. And for me, I feel like it gives me even more options with my eyeshadow. Like I feel like I have even more colors to choose from. So it's really kind of elevated this palette up a notch because I know like with Pan That Palette, I like the consistency of the project, but it's definitely nice to kind of shake things up if you're feeling a little bored. So if you have other metallic shades in your collection that you're just kind of uninspired by, try using a black base under them. It can really transform how they look. Like yesterday I tried out Satin Taupe over a black base, and then I used the shade Mercury, which is this kind of cooler toned brown up here, and it was really, really pretty. So kind of looking forward to doing that as one of my looks to pan as we get later on into the year. Right now I'm pretty focused on this green shade since we're in March, so that's kind of where we're going with the lids. Touch up a little bit on that crease area. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a fluffy brush from Morphe. This happens to be the M441. I like it because it's a really fluffy crease brush. And I'm going to go in and mix between the shades New Wave and Edge just to kind of give a really goldeny tone to my eyes. I was kind of thinking like the box of Lucky Charms, for lack of a better term, because you know, like the the Irish flag is orange and white and green, and so I was thinking, okay, let's incorporate like the gold with the pot of gold, and then have like the orange and the green, and you know what I mean. So, but all I'm doing is I'm basically running this into my crease, and I notice with the New Wave and Edge shades, I have to build these up to make them show up. So kind of go through and build up the intensity that you want on your eyes. Because like if I were wearing contacts, this depth would be absolutely fine. But one of the things I've noticed is once I put my glasses on, those two shades in particular just disappear. So I really have to build these up, which means I'm gonna hit pan on these shades really quickly, but it is what it is. But I wanted to just kind of mention that if you are looking for a look to be inspired to wear your frames with St. Patty's Day, because I know contacts are no longer an option for me. My eyes are too dry to wear, and I'm actually kind of contemplating LASIK surgery because my optometrist told me, you know, my eyes are so chronically dry that, you know, going through the regimen of eye drops and everything with the surgery would actually not be a big deal for me, and dealing with kind of the constant itchiness after surgery is no big deal because my eyes are pretty uncomfortable most of the time. So all of my looks are really focused on makeup for glasses. And I know that I've shared this before, but Definitely one of the things I've noticed over the years is I have to apply my makeup differently than when I'd choose to not wear glasses. Okay, so that's built up to about the intensity I want. Wow, that shadow's really powdery. So then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change up the look of Electric just a little bit, and I'm gonna go through with my NYX Jumbo Eyeshadow Pencil in the shade Milk. See if I can find it. I've got a couple of, okay, so here's our NYX Milk. It's just a basic white eyeshadow base. And I'm gonna go through with this in my inner corners as well as my brow bone. And I'm gonna blend it in so it's not quite so stark on the face. And again, it doesn't have to be precise, just kind of go in and get the color in there. And then I take my ring fingers, wanted to make sure I didn't have any coffee bean on that, because otherwise that would be a hot mess now, wouldn't it? Okay, so now that's all nice and blended in. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back through with my sponge tip applicator and the shade Electric, and I'm gonna pop it over that white shadow just in the inner corner. I'm actually gonna go with a matte highlight on my brow bone just because this is pretty intense. Like I'll show you right here. See that? Two different bases, and it looks like two completely different shadows, but no, same thing. Really, really cool. So it's amazing how much more versatile your makeup collection becomes just by adding black and white bases. Really, really fun. Because as you can see, when we put the Electric shade over the white base, it just intensifies the color that it already is, which is like a really, really intense green gold, but more gold. And then it takes the completely shamrock effect going across the lid over the black. Super, super fun. I just build it up a little bit more to make sure that you see that under my glasses. But again, if you're not a glasses wearer or you're wearing contacts, you really don't need all that much. Just go through with a little dusting and you're good. And then I'm gonna take just, this brush is from LA Colors. It's just a flat shader brush, really basic. And I'm going through with, actually I forgot it. I'm going through, if I had the shade left in my Lorac Pro 2 palette, actually where is it? If I had the shade left in my Lorac Pro 2 palette, I would go through with Buff, which is just a really basic cream shade. Kind of has a little bit of yellow to it. But since I'm out of that shade, I'm actually going through with Vanilla Cream from my Too Faced Semi-Sweet, or no, Coconut Cream, I'm sorry. Coconut Cream from my Too Faced Semi-Sweet Chocolate Bar palette. I'm just dusting a little bit onto my brow bone because it really kind of ties the look in together. This look is kind of feeling like the Irish flag to me, like going from the green to the orange kind of vibe to the cream to get kind of the white of the flag captured. And then I feel like we've got kind of the Lucky Charms sparkle inspired vibe going from the gold to the green across the lid. So really kind of fun. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take another Morphe brush. This is the M433 brush. I really, really love these small fluffy crease brushes because they work well for the hood of my eyes. And I'm going through with the shade Destiny up here, which is this really pretty khaki green. And I'm tapping it a couple of times, knock off the excess, and then I'm going to stamp that into my outer corner to really give me kind of a camel-y green vibe to this look. It's super pretty because it is dark enough to contrast against the Electric we have going on the lid, but it's also working really well with the orange vibe that we have going on in the crease with New Wave and Edge mixed together. I'm actually, like at first I was a little bit kind of on the fence about how I felt about this look because it's such a different change from what I was wearing before with the red eyeshadow that it actually took me a couple of days to kind of grow with it and kind of tweak it a little bit to something that works for me. In fact, I'm going to take it in a little bit of a different direction in just a moment with our eyeliner. because I wanted to focus more on bringing out my eye color versus having just a bunch of green shadow all over my eyes. Because something about these tones all together, I kind of felt like it was a little bit weird on my skin tone. Like, do you ever feel like that? Like when you put your makeup together and you're like, sometimes it all comes together on its own, like when you get to the lashes and you put your mascara on, or if you're doing false lashes, and it just looks good, but then like as you're going through the process, you feel like, oh my word, what did I get myself into? And so after a couple of days, I figured out, you know, changing my liner up a little bit and kind of going through and just changing a couple things here and there. I'm just kind of taking care of the fallout of those shadows. It just really makes a tremendous difference. So that's what we've got going on right now. And if you choose, I like to do this because it gives me a little bit more of an anchor under my glasses. I like to go through with the Real Techniques. This is just a dome crease brush. It's called the Deluxe Crease Brush. I'll actually link the duo set down in my description box if you don't have this, because for my hooded eyes, I really love this for deepening up the outer corner. It's the perfect shape to just get in there, and I love that it's an affordable brush, but it does a fabulous job of just stamping in color without having it get crazy and chaotic all over the eyes. So what I'm doing is I'm going in with the deep espresso brown. I mean, basic shade. You can find this in a lot of your palettes or if you have singles, but it's just a really intense espresso brown down here. This one happens to be from the Mariah Carey Quad, and I'm that chick you like. And I'm just gonna stamp this into my outermost corner just to give me a little bit of depth across that green. This is not a necessary step. You could just leave it with the green, but I've noticed that it makes it a little bit more flattering for me, just to kind of anchor it down and not have so much green, because otherwise it kind of tends to make my skin look a little bit yellow, just because of using all these yellows and oranges. Typically when I wear warm shadows, I like to mix cool things in with them, just to kind of tone them down a little bit. And these colors, especially like with the kind of the yellowy orange going on in my crease, I really like to have that anchored down where it's not quite so intense. You know what I mean? All right. And then lastly, I'm going to go through with a little bit of Roxy, that pretty orange shade over here. I've really fallen in love with the shade. At first I was kind of on the fence about it. The longer I use it, the more I like it. And this is my favorite way to kind of go through and use this shade, and that's to run it in to the top of my crease to blend everything together right with that coconut cream shade. I have done this with using Edge on its own. It wasn't quite as dark as I wanted it to be. I've tried using it with New Wave on its own. And again, it was pretty, but it wasn't quite what I needed it to be under my glasses. So I guess you could say we're really tying in the Irish flag in for St. Patty's Day, adding a straight up orange. And I've even tried using Dawn to try to blend everything out, but it wasn't quite as dark as what I needed under my frames to be able to see it. So if you don't wear glasses, those other options are fabulous to really give you some versatility. But I had to keep in mind with the glasses. All right, so let's take care of the fallout. And then the way that I found that I can make this the most flattering for my skin tone, because as you can see, we've got a lot of, maybe that'll make it better. We've got a lot of yellow going on, and it can kind of make my skin look a little bit weird. I hope it's not coming across as weird on camera, but I know in person it's a little too green. Like it makes my eye color really stand out, but like for my face, it's just not the most flattering. So what I've gone on and done is I'm taking my favorite from last month. It's just a really deep plum liner, and I'm gonna line my upper lash line and then go through and set it with the shade Rowdy from the Subculture palette. I have found that this adds just enough of a darkened base. Can you see this on camera? I'm sorry. I have to get close into my mirror because I am quite nearsighted. And I found like wearing a black liner with this look, I like it, but it's a little bit more, I guess the word I'm looking for is harsh. I wanted something a little bit softer, a little bit, you know, I wanted edgy and kind of a rocker chic vibe to it where, you know, I could wear it and have a look that has a little bit of bite during the day, but also be appropriate for nighttime for going out for St. Patty's Day parties. And this I found gives me both of those options because I can really, really smoke it out, or I can leave it just very subtle and deep for the daytime. So I'm just going through with Roxy. I mean, not Roxy, Rowdy over here in a Real Techniques eyeliner brush. And I'm gonna set my liner so that it doesn't travel during the day, because I have the best of intentions with my liner, but with the way that my eyes are shaped, I like to have that assurance that it's not going to budge during the day. So super, super easy. And I have to be honest, I think Rowdy has become one of my absolute favorite shades in the Subculture palette. It took me a while to come around to it. I'm still not a huge fan of it, using it as a crease shade, but time will tell. I think I'll figure out something that I really, really love it. But when I pair it with that deep plum eyeliner, it's just, it was everything that I never thought I wanted. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a nice change up, but at the same time, I still get an opaque look to my lashes to really make them look fuller without having to go with the falsie route, because that is a little bit impractical for me with my glasses. Okay, now going on to the lower lash line. What I have decided to do this month is I wanted to bring more of the yellow onto my lower lash line, so I'm using the NYX Faux White Eyeliner in the shade Vanilla. It's a really, really pale yellow shade. But going through with your normal flesh tone waterline, you know, looks just as great with this look. But when I saw this in my collection, I definitely wanted to go through and use it a little bit more. I actually bought this pencil as a shadow base before, and I really enjoyed it. So I wanted to go back and revisit it to make sure that I'm rotating a little bit more. So that's what that looks like. I know it's a little weird to watch people line their water lines on camera. And then I'm gonna go back through with that plum liner again. Actually, I may go through and do green. Let's do that. Let's stick with the Subculture vibe. So I'm gonna go through, I'm using my Clinique Quick Liner for Eyes Intense in the shade Intense Ivy. I'm on the last dregs of this pencil, so let's go for it. It's just a really pretty shimmery olive. So if you have an olive liner in your collection, perfect. The other thing that I like doing is going through and matching the purple on my lower lash line. So I would just go back through with that deep plum eyeliner, and then I like to set it with the shade Plum from my Lorac Pro 2, but for giggles and grins, let's just stick with all Subculture vibe today, because I know that if you have the Subculture palette, it is kind of helpful to see other looks that centralize just around that one palette. I really appreciate when people post videos using this palette, because it is so, it's kind of different, you know what I mean? Like, the colors are super neutral, but at the same time, actually, and I forgot to tell you, I am going in and setting it with the shade Destiny from the Subculture palette, just that khaki green, kind of keeping it basic on the lower lash line. But if you really wanted to kind of zhuzh this up, like if I was going out at night with this look, I would definitely smoke out purple on my lower lash line, because it offsets that green so nicely. And it looks really pretty, and it doesn't have to be like a Mardi Gras vibe. You know what I mean? Like with the gold, the green, and the purple. Like at first I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be way too Mardi Gras. But when I tried it, it actually looked really pretty. And it gave me a really fun going out to dinner look that was super, super festive and, dare I say, like, not avant-garde, but you know what I mean? Like makeup that definitely looked more festive than everyday going around. But I'm completely comfortable going around in my everyday routine with this look. So I wanted to keep it basic, because I mean, if you're taking your kids to school, you're going to school yourself, you're going to the grocery store, you're going to the post office and all that, you want something fun, something smoky, something like a little bit out there, still St. Patty's Day theme, but it's not like too crazy over the top. This is definitely gonna fit the bill for you. Okay, I actually do my mascara last, so let's go through and do the rest of our face. And what I'm gonna go through and bronze with, I have actually made a Franken bronzer that has kind of reddish tones to it. I've tried using the traditional bronzers, like going through with a like the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, but it just wasn't as flattering as I wanted it to be on my skin tone. I wanted to kind of bring some color and life back into my face to offset the yellow tones going on in the face. This is not wanting to cooperate today. So if you have a reddish tone bronzer and you have a fairer skin tone like I do, I've noticed that actually works a little bit better. So I'm just taking a fluffy e.l.f. powder brush and I'm dusting this reddish bronzer around the perimeter of my face. I don't want it to be too heavy, but I also want to give a traditional sunburnt look to my skin with a little bit more of the red, like I'd have peeling skin, because it offsets that yellow and orange kind of going on my eyes. Do you see what I mean? Because I tried the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I really want to get on board with that. The smell on it's a little too intense for my taste, but I wanted to try it since it's so well loved and hyped up here on YouTube. But I've noticed that this reddish bronzer works a little bit better for me. And if you're wanting a comparison bronzer, the Becca Gradient Glow Shimmering Skin Perfector is what I kind of mimicked. I really fell in love with that bronzer when I received it from Octoly last year. I loved it. I used every last little swipe of that powder, and so I've gone through with various shades that I had from Bare Minerals and old eyeshadows, and I've made a dupe shade to keep that going in my collection instead of repurchasing it at the moment. So, but that is a product that is on my eventual repurchase list, because when I have an eyeshadow look that I'm just kind of feeling ugh about, sometimes all I need to do is change up the bronzer and it just completely transforms the way that that eye look translates on my face. So again, tip I wanted to share with you, like if you're going through and you're shopping your stash and you're trying out different eye looks on an everyday basis, and some days you're just really feeling your makeup and some days you're just not, sometimes shaking up that bronzer makes all the difference in the world, changing up your blush too. So on that note, let's go in with blush. I am using, this is the Tarte Blush Bazaar Amazonian Clay Blush palette that came out, what, 2 years ago? Something like that. This is the one that there was like a paler version and this was like the deeper version. So here's what we're working with. I'm actually going through, I want kind of more of a nude peach vibe. And so I'm gonna dab my brush in between these two colors right here. I've kind of got a nude, kind of looks like exposed, a little bit more orange than that. And then definitely a bright peach shade down here. So I'm just gonna take my brush in between those two and then lightly dust my cheeks. And I'm choosing not to highlight with this look because I've got so much glitter going on with my eyeshadow with that electric shade that the times that I've highlighted this look, I haven't really enjoyed it because I felt like it was too much. So it's up to you if you choose to highlight, but I felt like it was just overwhelming to have highlights so close to my eyes and then have glitter kind of all up in my face right there, you know. I have to build up this blush a little bit because it is on the older side, so it's not quite as pigmented as it used to be. So face is basically done. I'll go through and do my mascara and all that when we get to the end of the video. And then as far as lip products, I really like going with a brown tone lip with this look because it brings back some life into my skin tone. If you like a nude lip, one of my favorite things has been to take the MAC lip pencil in the shade Strip Down, which is a really, really brown nude. I mean, really, really brown. Let me show you. That's what the Strip Down pencil looks like. And then I top it with the shade Honey Love also. All right, I wasn't sure where it cut off because I ran this video a longer time to compensate for doing the video. But as I was saying before, what I do with the Strip Down shade is I take it all the way through and line my entire lips. I fill them in the center, and then I follow through with MAC's Honey Love, which is just a really pretty brownish nude. I find that this color is also not completely flattering on my skin tone, but I like the nudeness of it. And so what I've done to make it the most flattering, if I choose to wear a nude lip, is to go through with my Marc Jacobs gloss in the shade Changes, because there is a mauve shift in this lip gloss, but there are also sparkles of green. They're not going to necessarily translate on camera right now. I'll put a picture of a swatch of it from the Sephora website so you can kind of see, but it's definitely, there's enough green in it and blue where it picks up, kind of giving a little bit more of a cool tone vibe to make it look a little bit more neutral, more flattering for my skin tone, but I still get to keep that nude vibe. So really, really, really easy. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to show you with the brown lip, because that's also super fun and not something that I see too often anymore on YouTube. So I was like kind of shaking up my lip product routines and doing something different. So if you like a more brown nude lip, this is going to be darker, but still very wearable on an everyday basis. I'm going through with my Maybelline Color Sensational Lip Liner in the shade Rich Chocolate. It has a little bit more of a burgundy base to it. Just so you can see, here's the Rich Chocolate in comparison with the brown tones over here, but then I don't need a gloss on top of it. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to line my lips. I cannot do this together and talk. And then the other thing that I like to do with my lip liner is I like to fill in the corners of my lips to give me a little bit more of a pouting effect, plumping effect, if you will. And then also help my lipstick kind of stick around a little longer, because I like to drink a lot of water and coffee during the day. And I don't necessarily want to have a high maintenance lip that I'm constantly having to touch up. So having that lip liner there, because one of the things I used to do when I was younger is I would wear really, really bold lips, and I would go on and fill my entire lip in with lip liner and then go through and use the color, because I mean I wore red lipstick like on a daily basis. I went through this pin-up phase where I was constantly wearing it, but you know red lips can be kind of high maintenance, and so I would go through and I'd fill in my entire lip and then use the red lipstick, and then I trained myself to basically use straws all the time and then never have my lips touch the straws, like put your tongue under it. You ever seen those tips? Like, you know, back when like Cosmo magazine used to like release things like that, like I constantly trained myself to not leave lip products and stuff on glasses and things like that. So lastly for lipstick, I'm going to go through with one of the Revlon matte lipsticks. This is in the shade Superstar Brown. These actually came out not too long ago, and since I'm a huge fan of the Super Lustrous formula, I wanted to try out the matte versions. These are really, really nice and comfortable to wear, and there's no scent to them. So Superstar Brown, which is really kind of a dark brown in the tube, but it's really pretty on the skin tone. So there it is. And I'm just going to go through and fill in my lips. And I'm done. Let's add a little bit of mascara while I'm on camera. I'm just using the Maybelline Mega Plush Volume Express Mascara. This is a favorite I just kind of wanted to go back to, and I realized I really, really do love this mascara. So go on and apply some. But the other tip I wanted to share with you, it really stands out when you wear purple liner on your lower lash line, but I like to go through with a plum mascara. This one is from Hard Candy. It is in the shade Wine and Dine. Love, love these colorful mascaras from Hard Candy. And I've also noticed that ColourPop is incorporating colorful mascaras. So I wanted to share the tip. If you like brightly colored mascara, one of the easiest ways to incorporate them into your everyday makeup is to layer them on top of black mascara, because then you can really play off the eyeshadow that you're wearing. I like to go through with teal mascaras, especially on my lower lash line, blue mascara, because it makes the whites of my eyes look really bright and fresh, especially if I'm wearing warm toned looks. Like I'll wear a lot of warm shadows on my upper lash line and I'll pop blue on my lower lash line and then use the blue mascara on top of my normal black mascara. It is stunning. I like wearing Army Green mascara. I don't have any on hand right now, but Plum is another one that will really just enhance your eye color, and it won't be crazy on your lash line if you want something a little bit more subtle. It's really about accentuating your eye color versus having, you know, something intensely bright and pigmented on your lash lines. Pretty, like, it softens up the look and again makes it a little bit more flattering for the skin tone if you're feeling like you're kind of struggling to make the greens and the oranges and the yellows work. All right, and there we go. Super, super easy St. Patty's Day inspired vibe, completely with your Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. I hope that you found this motivating to go shop your stash, try out something different, maybe play with some new shadow bases. This will also be a great way to get some more use out of your eyeliners if you have a black eyeliner that you just felt like is taking you forever if you're project panning it, or if you have some gel liner formulas that maybe you haven't gravitated to in a while, because I know I used to have one. I finally threw it out because I just decided it was too old, but just a way to kind of re-inspire you with your makeup. And I know the NYX Milk Jumbo Eyeshadow Pencil is super popular on YouTube. I love that it has a great affordable price point, so that's easy to pick up at Ulta or your drugstores, and have fun with your makeup. I mean, that electric shade is just dynamite, and it does work really well if you use a brush. Like I typically like using the e.l.f. C brushes whenever I apply lid colors, but the sponge tip applicators take it to the next level for me when it comes to those metallic shades. So thank you so much for spending some of your day with me today. I hope that you have fun trying this look out. Have fun shopping your stash, and I look forward to seeing you soon. See you later.